Welcome. You know who it is. You know what it is. We back. Yes, I took a couple days off, right? I know you haven't seen any streams from me, and why, you might ask? Because I got busy. You know what I'm saying? Got busy trying to get stuff done, had some projects needed to go out, so didn't really have much time to jump on a live, right? It was crunch time. You know what I'm saying? I told you I hit deadlines, right? So gotta hit the deadline. Even if it comes like down to the wire. Fact is, I gotta hit the deadline. So I do have another deadline, right? My next deadline is actually Friday. However, the client wanted to push that back a little bit. That's cool. You know what I'm saying? That's cool. Even though basically the project is finished. You know what I'm saying? But if they want to push back the deadline, wonderful. You know why? Because then that allows me to tweak. You know what I'm saying? Do a little bit extra. Try to put a little sauce on that. That's why. So, with that being said, that's kind of where we're gonna get to today. A little bit of kombucha. I don't know if y'all like kombucha. I do. So there's that. But so what I'm talking about today has to do with exactly what you see in the title, right? But also looking at a project and realizing that that project, you have a deadline, right? Again, working through this thought process, because the title today is Why Rush Your Life, right? Now, that can be in business, that can be in personal life, that can be, in every aspect of what you do. The question is, why rush, right? Why rush? I added on later the your life because in essence, isn't that what we're doing, right? We're rushing our life. I want to enjoy my life, right? I want to enjoy my life. I want to be able to, understand what's happening around me. I want to be able to take in all that's happening around me. And so I don't want to be on the treadmill of life just running. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? You around there sweating bullets because you rushing. You sitting there just running and running and running. You got your head tilted back. You know what I'm saying? Everywhere you go. That's not what we talking about. You know what I'm saying? We can't do that. But why? Right? Why can't we do that? We'll get into that. Right? So let's stick a pin there. We'll push that back a little bit. Right? We'll push that back a little bit. And what we're going to talk about though is why are you rushing to begin with? Right? So I hear you. You're saying, well, I don't rush. I just do what I got to do. You know what I'm saying? I just do what I got to do. But when you really look at it, if you have a job, you're more than likely running to work, right? You're rushing to work. Then, while you're driving, you're rushing, right? Driving all fast. You know what I'm saying? You got your foot to the pedal to the metal. Come on, you rushing, right? When you're having dialogue with people, you rushing your responses, right? Because you're not really responding, you're just reacting. So you're not actually taking time to think through what a person says and then adequately form a response and present that response, right? That's a different type of energy. It's a different type of energy. And if we're going to be showing up to be the best version of our life, we have to learn how to not rush and to thoroughly think through your response and then respond, right? Y'all are sitting here trying to rush the pivot. in a business. You got your own company. You might have your own business, right? Self-employed. Okay, cool. But you're rushing because you want to change. Oh, I got to make this. I got to make that change. I got to do that thing. You know what I'm saying? And so you're rushing in your relationship, right? You might be, boyfriend, girlfriend, let's say you're boyfriend, girlfriend, and now you want to, okay, I need to make this serious. I need to go ahead and get married, right? And so you rush into being a fiance, and then you rush into getting married. And then you wonder why your relationship is all tattered. You know what I'm saying? Because you rushed. You rushed it, right? And I personally think, and I'm sorry, I feel like I got something in my eye. But I personally think that that is a product of the microwave generation, right? The microwave generation. Now, when I was growing up, we did have microwaves, but that wasn't until a little bit later. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't really everybody. It wasn't as saturated in the market with microwaves when you come to talking about people's homes that they actually had. Everybody had one. We got them later, right? And so I didn't grow up understanding that you can just pop something in the microwave and then boom, boom, boom. Like I said, that was a little bit later. So my understanding of getting things done meant you had to put it on the stove. You had to simmer it. You know what I'm saying? Like you had to cake on the phone with your girlfriend. You had to write letters and things. And if you're going to progress your relationship, think about it. If you're writing letters, that was like a 3-day turnaround, right? If I mail it today, well, first I had to write it. So maybe that took, maybe a day to write through it and then a mess up. And then you get another piece of paper and you write it again, right? Talking about a 4-page letter, right? Aaliyah. So if I'm sending a 4-page letter, that might take me a smooth 2-3 days to write. You know what I'm saying? Especially if you wanted to look good, if you wanted to be nice and precise and get your whole, thought process out that you're trying to get across, right? So if I have to write this letter and it takes me 3 days and then I mail it, it takes another 3 days to get to, your person, then not only do you have that time frame, now you have the time frame of her or him reading it and then drafting up a response and then putting it back in the mail and then you getting it and reading it. That's a long process, right? I'm not saying it's better, but I'm saying you can't rush. You had time to think about it, right? You had to wait in anticipation for what you wanted. It wasn't something that was just going to be boom, boom, instant response, boom. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't a rush. So now people will sit here and text somebody, right? And then they sit there and wait because they're like, they're rushing for a response. Respond. They got to respond now. If they don't respond now, then they're trying to ghost me. What? No. Sometimes people have things that they're doing. They got to think through how they want to respond to what you said. It's not that they're trying to ghost you. It's not that they're trying to push you off. It's that they have to think through it. If they don't get a chance to think through it, then how are they going to respond in a way that they can stand on, right? If you're going to stand on business, you got to be able to know exactly what I want to get across, say it in a way that the other person should be able to understand what I'm trying to get across, right? And then wait for them to digest that and come up with how they want to respond. But everybody wants it now. I hear you. And that's what most people want. They want it now. If they don't get it now, then it's a problem, and this person don't know what they want. They're indecisive, or whatever, because they didn't get a response now. I don't think that that's true. And I think that that's why a lot of people now have anxiety, right? Because they need it now. If they don't get the response or the feeling now, then it puts them in this heightened state of, oh, is it going to come? Oh. Okay, back in the day when we were sending those letters off to our boyfriend, girlfriends, right? We writing these letters and stuff like that. Yes, we had anticipation, right? We had anticipation, and but it was a good thing, right? You go out to the check the mailbox every day. You know what I'm saying? And you know what? Now that I think about it, that might be the reason why um um anxiety wasn't as bad. This is based on what I believe. Okay, so I'm Rich Bees, the real Rich Bees. I'll be here all week. You find me on all these. What I'm saying is that if we had anticipation and we had to go to the mailbox, right? We had to keep checking the mailbox. We out the blinds looking for the mailman. You know what I'm saying? We sitting there peaky blinds, like where's the mailman at? And when the mailman does come, right? Or matter of fact, in that whole process, what do we have? We had action being taken, right? We were doing things that worked off that anxiety or that anticipation, because anticipation is this energy, right? It's this bubbling up. It's this feeling that you get of anticipation, right? But how do you work that off, right? It's almost like if I go to perform on a stage, right? Whenever I'm doing my music, I go to perform and I'm about to go on stage, right? I start getting hyped. I start getting nervous, right? My stomach starts feeling away, my breathing may increase, right? I'm getting excited, right? My hand might start shaking a little bit, you know what I'm saying? Knees start shaking, maybe. It's not that I'm not gonna do it. Nothing in my body is gonna tell me not to do it. It's the fact that, I don't know how this is gonna go. I've practiced for it, yeah, I'm ready for it, but okay, here we go. You know what I'm saying? Once you hit the stage, you say the first line, it's on from there. Are you hear the beat? You know what I'm saying? So my point that I'm getting across here, trying to get across, hopefully you're receiving this, is that there's a patience in anticipation and actions, right? Because of the energy that's going on inside of you. So now you have to try to deal with that. How do you deal with that? How do you deal with that? If I'm dealing with that anticipation and I'm trying to handle that, then, me going to check the blinds, me going out to the mailbox, looking in it, anything in there, right? Those were ways that we had to run out to do something, check the mailbox, right? Go back inside. And then your parents is like, go sit down somewhere. You keep checking that mailbox. It'll come when it comes. You know what I'm saying? And so what that means is, but you kept putting movement behind that anticipation, right? Movement, movement. Let me go do. Let me go do. Even though you knew that you was gonna have to wait, right? And yes, you probably didn't want to wait, but we did because you had no other option, right? Other than a phone call. But some people couldn't talk on the phone that much, right? Some people didn't even have a house phone. So you had to wait. Now, with me saying that, I'm still talking about rushing, right? Rushing. What we know is that when you are rushing your life, I think that it's because of the pressure, right? That's forcing your movement because you're not moving in wisdom, right? You don't have peace in that area, and or there's no structure present. Is that making sense? Okay. Is there another way I can say that? If you have pressure in your life, right? Okay. Here's the pressure. The pressure could be something like, if I don't finish this thing, then I'm going to get fired, right? Is that a fact or is that something that you think, right? If I don't get to this appointment early, then am I going to make a bad first impression, right? Meaning you're moving out of fear and you're rushing because you think something's going to happen, right? So let me give you a first check. Let's check that real quick, right? Let's check that. How are we going to check that? You can do this yourself. This is a self-check that you can do, obviously, yourself, because it's a self-check. So first, self-check. Here we go. Ask yourself this question. What am I afraid is gonna happen if I don't rush to do it? Right? What's gonna happen? What are you afraid of? We just said that if you're rushing, then a lot of times you're rushing based on a fear that something's gonna happen. Right? Whatever that thing is, what is that? What are you afraid of? What's the big bad wolf in that situation? That's what you have to ask yourself. Right? If you think about, okay, let's go to a car, right? If we're driving and we're rushing, right? We're driving around, darting through traffic, all that kind of stuff, right? Because we feel like we might be a few minutes late, right? What if you are? I'm not advocating for CP time, right? I'm not advocating for being late. I'm not advocating for that. But I'm saying that if you are late, what's going to happen? I would posit that if you rush, chances are you can create bigger consequences for your life. Some of them can be deadly consequences if you're rushing while you're driving. Right? I think that when we go to work, a lot of us work in a panic type of mode, right? The mode is panic. Why is the mode panic? Because you feel like if I get fired from this job, I'm not going to have no money. I'm going to lose where I stayed. I'm going to become unhoused. And then I'm going to end up in somebody's gutter looking crazy, right? Or once I lose my job, people are going to talk about me, right? I'm going to lose my friends, right? Because now I don't make as much as I was. Like, all of these fears that you have, are any of them valid? Don't know. Right? Nobody knows the future. But I do know that living from a panic lifestyle is going to end up having you super anxious inside and probably not having a great experience for your life. Right? So, if urgency, right, is the only thing that makes you move, then maybe that urgency is controlling your life. Right? I want to control my life. I don't want anybody else to control my life. Right? Or anything else to control my life. I want to be able to make great decisions so I can get the outcome that I want. I know that starts off with I have to know what I want. And that's a fact. And I've tried to say that before. I don't know if you guys got it, but I said it before that we need to start saying what we want, not what we don't want. And if I did, I'm gonna look over my archive, right? Over the videos. Y'all can go to the YouTube. Y'all can go over to the YouTube, see if I did a video on that. If I didn't do a video on that, chat, put it in the chat or put it in the comments and let me know if you see a video on saying what I want. If I didn't do one, I will, because that is a huge thing that I had to overcome some years back, right? So I'm not going to go into it now, but if I am moving only when things are urgent, remember we had the whole live talking about pressure, right? Am I addicted to pressure, right? In this sense, I'm not talking about the pressure of the life, right? Doing things at the last minute. I'm more so talking about the urgency in which you work, like the rushing part of it, right? So if we're talking about um getting from point A to point B, if we're talking about not wanting to wait for things, right? Not being okay with the wait. Now we're talking about the rushing aspect, the urgency, right? Like not the pressure part, but the urgency of it. Now, that can lead you to liking the pressure part, right? Because you're putting yourself under more pressure if you don't do what? If you don't plan, right? If you don't plan and you don't have a methodic way that you're going to handle something, that's how you end up in the pressure. You're not rushing anymore, right? Well, excuse me, you start rushing even more. That's what I meant to say. You start rushing even more because you've put this pressure on your life. So that's why I'm saying, like, when you think about someone who is, let's say you are a little bit late getting home, okay? Let's say you're supposed to be home at 8 p.m. and right now it's 7:45. You got a 40-minute ride home, right? You know you're going to be late. Why rush? Why rush? Yes, you have to be there at 8. Understandable, right? Understandable. We don't know in this moment why you are late leaving where you were, okay? We don't know what that is because that's not what we're talking about in this moment. But as soon as you realize that you were going to be late, you don't have to rush. Rushing is not the answer to that being late. If you can, in the chat, tell me what the answer is. What is the response if you know that you are going to be, what? That would end up making you 15 minutes late. If you're supposed to be somewhere at 8 o'clock, it's 7:45. That's going to put you at about 8:20, chat. Is that right? About 8:20? So, which means you are definitely going to be late. What is your response? What are you supposed to do? If you're going to show up as the best version of yourself, what is that? Right? I would say, this is my thought. As soon as I realize I'm going to be late, boom. Hello? Whoever I'm supposed to meet at 8 p.m., listen, I'm running a little bit late, right? I can jump on, I can be on, I can talk to you at about so and so time. Soon as you realize. Most people would appreciate that. Oh yeah, no problem, dog. Just, you know what I'm saying? Just let me know when you get there. Right? Oh, no problem. I know we gotta meet. Okay. Matter of fact, I'm running a little bit late myself. I'll be there about the same time. It's nothing but a phone call. Why do you think that something's going to happen because you're late? Because that's what rushing is. If you're rushing basically out of fear. You're rushing out of fear. There's no confidence there. There's no peace there. There's no you are literally rushing out of fear because you think something's going to happen. And that's why I said in the first check, what are you afraid of? Right? If you show up late, what are you afraid of? Right? If you're not able to get that deadline met, what are you afraid of? Is the world going to stop spinning? Okay. I think let's level set this. It's one thing to rush because somebody has a gun to somebody that you love's head, and now you have to try to rush and be at a certain place by a certain time because if you're not there, then it's gonna be pew pew. If that's the case, rush, run, do everything you got to do to get there. I get it. I do. It's okay. But most of your life's not like that. That's not what's going on in your life. What's going on in your life, more than likely, is the fact that you failed to plan adequately. what's going on in your life is you let somebody else run over your time, which made you not be able to make your next appointment. Right? Or if you're the person that was leading the last meeting, you let it go over time when you could have stopped it. So why rush? You see what I'm saying? You could have ended that last meeting on time and then progress through the time that you need to progress through to get to where you need to be by the next time. Again, this is not rocket science, people. We are trying to show up as the best version of ourselves, and the only way you do that is intentionally. You have to make a decision on what you want your life to look like. And I'm pretty sure nobody wants to live a life of panic. Nobody wants to live a life of fear. Nobody wants to live a life where they feel like that they're all over the place and can't have some consistency, can't have some, things that they can count on, right? People want peace because everybody complains about it. Oh, I gotta go do this. This is just a lot. This is just too much. This is overwhelming. I don't even have the bandwidth, right? Make the bandwidth. How? By choosing the things that you want to do and knowing the things that you don't want to do and separating yourself from the things you don't want to do so you can only have the things that you want to do in your life. Because then you'll plan more effectively. You'll make the moves needed to be where you need to be on time, right? Which can potentially lead to more success. It's not rocket science, right? What it is intentional thinking, planning, and strategizing. That's what it is. I don't think it gets any simpler than that, right? It doesn't get any easier than that. If you want to be for real. So if we talk about even in the, let's say, financial lane, right? If you are rushing to go pay bills, if you are rushing to try to make sure that your lights don't get cut off or something like that, okay, I understand that. However, I defer back to what I previously said. Plan more. Plan better. Why? Because there were probably times that you could have took a couple dollars here, put it to the bill. A couple dollars there, put it to the bill. A couple dollars here, put it to the bill. I think people don't realize that just because you have a bill, you don't have to pay the whole thing at one time. I don't have to wait until I get up enough money to pay the bill. I don't. If it takes you 10, okay, say the bill's $100, right? If it takes me paying $10 a week, or not a week, 10 times, right? $10 10 times within that month to make sure that bill is paid, it is what it is. Right? What are they going to tell you? Oh, no, I can't take you $10. You got to pay the full bill. You think that's what they're going to tell you? They want that money. It don't matter how you get it. You could do the same thing with your mortgage payment. You could do the same thing with your credit card payment. You could do the same thing with any payment that you have. Because as long as they have enough that covers that owed balance by time the due date, they good. All I'm trying to do is help. Right? Give us another way to think about this, because we're moving from a sense of fear, a sense of panic, a sense of frustration, right? Because that's all rushing is, right? Okay, if you think about it this way, rushing is often fear in motion, right? I would think of it. Okay, so if I'm scared that something's gonna happen in the future that I don't even know, and I'm rushing to make sure that that doesn't happen, that we don't even know is going to happen, that doesn't seem smart, does it? At least I don't think it does. Whatever you're going to do, just commit to it. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Let's say I'm going to a party, right? I'm going to a party, and let's say the party's for me, right? Me personally, because of this is how I am, I would rather be there when the party starts, right? Party at 10 o'clock. Okay, I want to be there at 10 o'clock. However, a lot of times the party's for you, it's what is it? I don't want to say it's okay, but it's understood that a lot of times the guest of honor is going to come in after everybody else gets there, right? So that way they could be celebrated upon their walk in. They can see the people that they know. Oh, what's going on, bro? Oh, what's happening? Yo, hey, ain't seen in a long time, homie. You know what I'm saying? Hey, watch it now. Hey, glad you can make it, yo. You know what I'm saying? That's what they gonna do. So, is it okay to be late? I think so, in that sense. But that doesn't mean I have to rush to it, right? Even though I may want to be there at 10, if I'm late, okay, cool, right? If I'm fashionably late for things, how late are you? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not saying to make it a habit to be late. That's not what I'm saying. Far from what I'm saying. I'm saying be there on time. I can understand the modes by which you may be late because of certain standards, understandings, or whatever. That's what I was trying to give grace for, right? But what I'm trying to get across is don't be late. Plan appropriately so you won't have to be that. Now, it's one thing if we talk about traffic, right? Because in some places there's tons of traffic. There's so much traffic that no matter where you go, it's going to be an hour to get there. Plan for that. Right? Plan for that. Because we don't want to be rushing out of fear. If we're moving, we want to be more like wisdom in action, right? Like we want to be wise and put that wisdom into action. Because I believe that there's a difference between, right, rushing and moving. Rushing is out of fear. Moving is out of intention. Does that make sense? Chat, where we at? Does that make sense? I think we might be on the same page now. I think we got there. I think we got there. So let me go a little bit more. Okay? I'm gonna go a little bit more. If speed and momentum are two different things, right? I think you would agree. I know from what I understand, that's the same thing people saying, oh man, that car's fast. Or they might say, oh man, that car's quick. Right? Quick and fast can be considered the same thing, but when you talk about speed, they're different. Right? Fast means that it can get from point A to point B fast, right? Quick means the time at which it can make certain metrics is quick, right? So let's say 0 to 60. If you can go to 0 to 60 in 1 second, that's quick. That's quick. Right? But if I can go, if I can do a 10-second quarter mile, that's fast. That car's fast. Make sense? So speed is not the same thing as momentum. We talked about that before, right? In the past. We didn't talk about speed, but we talked about momentum. So you should understand what momentum means at this point. If not, go back, watch the video, go to YouTube, you know what I'm saying? Watch the video. And what you'll see when we talked about momentum is that momentum can only be calculated after it stops, right? So if you have momentum, you only know how much momentum you had after it's over, because you calculate momentum by whatever force can stop it. You know what I'm saying? That's how you know. That's how you know how much momentum you had when it comes against something that stops it. That's how you can find out what the momentum is. You know what I'm saying? Now, if I'm wrong in that, and we read the definition, so maybe my account of what that means might not be right. Hey, listen, I might not always be right. Matter of fact, I know I'm not always right, but I did read the definition. So if my interpretation is off, then that's that. But based on my interpretation of the definition, it's calculated upon what comes against it. So that means that it has to stop if you're going to be able to tell how much momentum it had, right? Because it's resistance, right? Now, speed is how fast you're getting somewhere, right? And if we understand that, then that means that fast changes are not always wise changes, because sometimes we can move too fast to be able to make wise decisions, right? I think that if you are wise, you'll know that I don't have to rush. I don't have to rush. I don't have to go fast. I don't have to. A lot of times it's the younger crowd who is going to move fast because they don't know that they don't have to. They're operating out of fear, so they think that they have to. You know what I'm saying? So if we go a little bit deeper, I think that there's questions that we can ask ourselves, right? That's separate from the initial question, right? Of what am I afraid of? And we start asking other questions like, do I need speed here, or do I need better structure, right? Do I have to move fast, or is something making me feel like I need to go fast, right? Because in the form of a project, if I have a project and I'm dealing with a client and they're like, oh, we really got to get it out by this time. We really got to have it done by this time, right? And I know how much work we have to do to get that done. Then I'm going to ask the question, well, why, right? Like, what is this dead? Why are we moving to that deadline? And why is that deadline so short, right? Or coming so fast? What is it that we have to be done by that time? And when they give me the answer, right, they say, oh, well, I just really wanted a lot like that because, you know, that gives me time to market before this thing. Okay, so that thing, you want to have it done by. They say, yes. Okay, cool. So then let's back up the plan and see, based on how long it takes to do the things, can we get it done in that amount of time? Right? And so then if I walk out the plan with them, right, based on trying to fulfill their expectations, then they will more than likely say, you know what? That sounds like a lot. I think we might need to maybe, okay, do you think if we get rid of this feature and that feature, or maybe not do this one like this, we just kind of make it a little bit, I say, okay, that might work. But what if we do this? What if we do this part and this part, right? Because that's enough for you to have as the showing. It'll still work. It'll still do the things. It's just missing all these little extra things, or the back end for the administration or something like that, right? The front end will work. Most of the things you need will work, but we're going to put off this other part right here. because this part doesn't affect whether or not it works, whether or not a client can get in it, whether or not it can still do the thing to help you start to generate revenue. Okay, so if we do that part, and then you can release that part by that date, and then maybe 2-3 weeks later we can have the rest of that other part done. How would you think about that? Right? Because my whole thing is, why do we rush? Because if we're rushing, I believe that we're not going to do our best work. I really don't think we'll do our best work. I think we can do good work, yes, but is it our best work? Is it the work that we can be proud of and stand behind? Or is it the whole time we're going to be thinking like, man, I could have did that better. Or man, I should have thought about that. I didn't even think about that. We could have did that instead of that. You see what I'm saying? All because we were meeting an arbitrary deadline that made us have to rush to get to. I don't think that that's good. You know what I mean? I don't think that that's good. I think we should ask ourselves questions like, am I building my life or am I reacting to the pressure? Right? Am I building my life or am I reacting to the pressure of my life? And I think a lot of people would probably realize that we are reacting to the pressure of life. That's no bueno. You know what I'm saying? That's no good. We can't react to the pressure. We have to come up with the plan. How do we want our life to play out? Structure it appropriately and then work the plan. Work the plan. I think that's how we'll end up getting ahead. And when I say we'll get ahead, I'm talking about we as a people. Because right now, I don't think that it's, color based like white against black or, Spanish speaking countries over like Germanic countries or whatever, right? Like, I don't think all of that really is a thing. I do know that there are tensions, but I also believe that there is another side of it. I believe that the real thing we are going against is 2 levels deep, but I'm just going to start with the first one. The first one is it's the people and the government. That's the thing at this point, right? Most countries, I think the government has its way that it wants their citizens to be, understand, and do, and the people are like, no, I don't want to do that. You know what I'm saying? And so if they don't want to do that, it's because they don't want that pressure. They don't want that thing that they're doing is pumping fear in their community, and they don't want the fear. Why are you fear mongering? Why are you acting like the world's about to end? Tell us the truth. If the world's about to end, it's because you're pushing it to. Okay. All right. I hear you. I'll leave it alone. Because that's not what we're talking about, the rushing part. You know what I'm saying? I told y'all sometimes I can get off on a tangent. Normally I'm going to bring it back around, and I was going to bring that back around, but I'm like, you know what? Let's just stay off that for now. That can be a full nother stream. We'll talk about that another time, right? So let's say this. Here are some ways that we can get past the rushing, right? We can not have to rush, and we can move with wisdom through strategic modes of operation. Here's what we're doing. Here's the correction. Here's the fix. Okay? Hot off the presses. You know these things, but sometimes people have to tell you, you have to hear it again to say, I knew that the whole time. Okay, here's the first one. First, build margin, right? Build in margins. Margins for the time that the deadline is. Whenever the deadline is, whenever the time that you're supposed to arrive, whenever the goal is, whatever that is, build in margins. Build in margins. If you have margins, then if something goes wrong, you have at least a little bit of time to get back on track. Margins are needed. And even if we want to talk about it in a financial way, if you're giving somebody an estimate, don't just charge them the base of what it costs to do the thing. Build in margins. Build in margins. Not saying that they're not going to pay, but what if it takes them a while to pay? If I had some margins earlier, then I can probably stave off the time that they need to pay or not have to feel anxious about when are they going to pay, right? Because I've already built in some margin. I built some margin in the front, built some margin in the back. Why? Because also you never know. A client may change their project, right? You may have project changes. So if they do, yes, we're gonna charge them for project changes, of course. But if they do, some of them you might be like, you know what? Because you want to give good customer service, you're like, you know what? Don't even worry about adding anything extra for that change. That change request, I'll handle that one. Okay? That part right there, don't even worry about. They be like, oh, great. I appreciate that. Yeah, man. Saved you a couple $100. Cool. But you can do it because you built in the margins from the gate. I'm giving y'all free game. All it takes y'all is time. And at this point, we're at 45 minutes to listen to this and get to that point. Build margins. All right? Build margins. Here's another one. The other thing that we can do to help us in these situations so we won't be rushing is to leave earlier. You got a deadline, you have a time that you're supposed to arrive, leave earlier. Right? Leave before the time that you're supposed to be there, a lot earlier than you think you should. That way when you get there, it's not a rush. You get there, you park your car, you get out, you know what I'm saying? You might go to the restroom real quick, grab you a sip of water, you know what I'm saying? You look around, you can see the paintings they got on the office walls, you can meet some people who are in there before you ever have to be there by that time. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to get mad at the doorman. You don't have to, get mad at the elevators taking a long time. Like, you don't have to get mad at the other drivers. Why? Because you left earlier. And that goes right back to building in margins, because that's all it is. You built in extra time. So that way, if anything does come up, you're still good. That's intentional. That's thought. Right? That's planning. Right? So the other, not the other, because it's not like there's three. There's five that I have. Here's number three though. If we can stop forcing decisions that need to be made in the same day, right? This can stop us from rushing. You don't have to make the decision that same day. You don't have to make a same day decision. You can wait. You can literally wait till the next day. Right? You don't have to. If it's not something that's going to, well, first of all, if it has to do with a bill, whether to pay it or not, that shouldn't be the last day anyway. Like, I shouldn't have to decide on the last day because I've already made small payments over the month, right? We already corrected that earlier. So at this point, I'm like, if you have the decision that you have to make, I don't think most decisions have to be made in that same day. Unless you're talking about, what am I going to eat? Okay, right? Like, what am I eating today? What do I feel like eating? Okay, that might have to be made the same day unless you're just not going to eat. If you're not, that's okay too. If you don't want to eat that day, okay, cool. Right? But most decisions don't have to be made the same day. So stop forcing it. All right. All right, number 4. I would say create a plan, right, before the pressure hits, right? That's why I said, even when I talked to the client, we were talking about the project or whatever, that's creating the plan before it's the last minute and we talking about how we're going to get these features in there, which features are we not going to do, right? This is the plan for how we're going to operate, so that way we won't have to force decisions in the last minute, and we won't have to sit here and try to say that now you have to pay for a change, in the project or whatever. I'm saying to create the plan from the beginning, right? And even talk about when you're creating that plan, talk about with yourself, with the person that you're in the plan with or whatever, talk about, well, what do we do if it comes down to the last minute, right? What are the things that we can potentially cut out at the last minute, even though we think we're going to do them now? What are those things, right? So we might scale back the project, and then even in that scale back, well, what if we still can't hit the deadline? What happens then? Is there anything else that we're like, maybe we can put this feature off, or maybe we can do this a different way? That's creating a great plan, a solid plan, a strategically sound plan. That's what we want to do, right? In all situations, we want to have a plan because we want to be successful. And in being successful, that means that you have to have a plan, right? So I urge you guys, and this is number 5, don't let discomfort make everything feel like it's urgent, right? A lot of times we'll sit here and feel like uneasy, right? Anxious, right? Like, man, it should have happened by now, right? I'm not where I want to be, right? I'm not who I thought I would have been by now. So now everything that I'm doing feels urgent. I got to do it. I'm rushing to do this. I'm rushing to do that. I'm trying to make sure that's done. Trying to do that. Trying to do that. There's no control in that, right? And I'm not saying control everything else. I'm talking about control in yourself. There's no control because now I feel like I have to do everything else, which makes me have to rush. I got to do a billion things because if I don't do a billion things, then how am I going to get where I thought I would be? But you didn't know the future anyway, so you would have. That might not be for now. That might have, what you may have seen in your dreams could have been, it could be in the next 2 years, not tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? You more than likely are not far off from where you're supposed to be by the time where you are. But there's still time, right? As long as your feet are standing on ground, you still have time. As long as you're in a vertical position, unless your job is horizontal, you still have time, right? Everybody has time. As long as you're on the top of the dirt and not under the dirt, 6 feet down, you have time. You know what I'm saying? You have time. Now, don't get me wrong. You know how they say time, life is short, right? Yes, in the grand scheme, when you pull out from a macro view, yes, time is short, right? In relation, if we compare, which we shouldn't do, but if we compare the time that humans have on Earth to the grand scale of Earth, we're here for seconds. We're here for milliseconds. Just a moment. We're here for a blip of time. But walking out day to day, you have time. You do have time, right? You might feel like there's not enough time in a day. Okay, but if you plan, right? If you plan, then your days don't feel like you're not achieving anything, right? Every day you can strategically see, I've gotten this fixed. Okay, I've finished this piece. Okay, I was able to attend this thing, right? That got me to this thing, right? Like you can start to see how all of those things weave together because I'm not rushing. I'm not just doing whatever. I'm very targeted, very, focused, pointed, like an arrow, straight at the target, right? Like I know where I'm going, right? And if you plan and you're moving intentionally, then you can be sure that the place that you arrive will be the right place that you were designed to be in. Right? If you plan, you move out of intention, you'll arrive at the place that you were actually designed to be in because you planned it. If you move randomly, rushing to do everything is urgent, everything is now. Yes, you can arrive at a place fast, but all you're doing is getting to the wrong place faster. Didn't plan, rushing to do everything, you all over the place, wrong place, faster. I mean, okay. Stop rushing. I implore you right now. This is from Rich Bees, the real Rich Bees, asking you to stop rushing. Be focused. Create a plan for where you desire to be in your life and move in that direction intentionally, without rushing, but with great wisdom. Move with action. All right. So chat, that's it for me today. All right, that's it for me today. Not only am I talking to you, but I'm also talking to me. This is how we need to move. This is the thing that we need to do. Right? So next time that you feel like you're rushing, ask yourself, why am I rushing? And you'll see that it's probably because of fear. Fear of something that didn't even happen yet. And we are not going to let that fear control our lives. All right. Thank y'all for dropping by. You know who it is. You know what it is. Tell a friend to follow your mans, Rich Bees, the real Rich Bees on all of these. See ya. Rich Bees out.